How's everybody doing today? It may not look like it, but we had no classes today because there was supposed to be a tornado. It's still pretty windy, but I don't know about any tornado. Tuscaloosa had a pretty bad tornado a couple years ago that ruined everything. It was pretty bad, and they said that same day was pretty much like this. Like, it was partly cloudy, it was kind of sunny, and then it came out of nowhere. So you never know. We're still under a tornado watch until I think 9 o'clock tonight. So I said, you know what, you might as well ride a motorcycle, right? But I'll tell you, it was nice not having classes today. I may or may not have had an essay due today that I didn't do, so I was like, well, that works out nicely because I got an email from my professor saying it's not due till Thursday now. Being from Pennsylvania, we don't necessarily see too many tornadoes there. Now that I think about it, I don't think I've seen one my whole life. I might have had one that we saw but didn't touch down, but I don't think I've seen an actual tornado. And I know some places they're like a pretty frequently occurring thing, which is weird to think about. It's scary to think about too. So I got a question for you guys. Someone was talking to one of my group chats the other day. Well, I guess it's a question for the people who live in Alabama and the surrounding area. He was talking to our group chat and he said apparently it's not a felony to run from the cops in Alabama. Now, I don't know if that's true. I would have never guessed that that was true. And someone was like, well, how do you know that? And he's like, a cop told me. So I guess he had a conversation with a cop and that's what a cop said. So that's a question for you guys. For all of you who live in Alabama, do you know the law pertaining to that? Because I have no idea. I can't imagine that if you run from a cop, it's not a felony in any state. Apparently it's a misdemeanor and it's only a felony if you hit somebody while you're running. I find that a little hard to believe, but you never know. Ooh, speaking of the cops, there's one now. It's not even in the car. Actually, speaking of cops, I had a story I meant to tell you guys. I was thinking about it the other day, and I wanted to share it with you guys because a lot of people are under the interpretation that cops are bad. Oh, they suck. They're nothing but douchebags. They're out to get you. They just want to fuck you over. And you guys have probably heard someone talk about this many times before. But it's true. Not all cops are like that. There's definitely plenty of cops that are like that. But there's also a big group of cops who aren't like that, and they're actually good people. If you guys aren't the biggest fan of cops, I hope you all have an experience that changes that, because I did. When I got my first ticket, the cop who pulled me over, I mentioned this in a past video, so go check that video out if you haven't seen it. But I pretty much got pulled over for passing a stopped school bus. And if you listen to my story about it, it wasn't necessarily, okay, it was my fault. I'm not going to deny that. But it was a weird situation. And I don't know, it's still kind of up for debate in my eyes about whether or not I should have gotten a ticket for it. So after that happened, the cop that pulled me over was the biggest prick. He was a cocksucker. I had just washed my car, and when he was walking up to my car, he had just like drug his hand down the entire car. So I was like, okay, this is what we're working with. So he was the biggest prick. So ever since that, he left a bad taste in my mouth for cops. About 6 months after that, I had a good encounter with a cop, and that changed my perspective. It showed me that not all cops are bad, and that there are some nice cops out there. There's plenty of nice cops out there. Oh, fuck. That was weird. A whole big-ass gust of wind just came and, like, started really pushing my bike all over. So I'll lay it out for you. I was in my Camaro, and I was with one of my friends, Jason, and then my friend Eddie was in his G35 with a couple girls, right? And my friend Eddie, he's a troublemaker, I guess, to say the least. He's always wanting to race. He has like no regard for anything else, anyone else. All he wants to do is go fast. He's gotten pulled over, I think, like 11 times and never gotten a single ticket. Now, how that happens, I have no idea. So I was riding with him one night, and he just kept asking me to race. The entire night he was asking me to race, right? He was like, oh, let's race. But I had already gotten my ticket, so I had points on my license. So I was like, nah, I can't be racing you. I can't risk it. So the whole night I was like, nah, I'm not racing. So then we were pulling into his town, and his town set up, it's 2 lanes this way, 2 lanes this way, and then like buildings. It's like in the city, and it's like buildings on each side. It's a highly traveled road with tons of cops always, right? So he's in the right lane, I'm in the left lane. And he's sitting there, he's riding next to me, he's revving, he's trying to get me to race. And I was like, nah, I'm not racing, I can't. Especially right here, because there was tons of cops there. So I was like, nah, definitely not happening, right? So we were pulling up, getting into the main part of town. He was like, oh, come on. He rolled down his window and I rolled down my window. And he's like, oh, come on, race. Well, as he said this, I looked in my rearview mirror and saw like the outline of a cop. Like it was at night that it happened. So I just saw like the bar on top of the car and the grill. He was in a Suburban, or a Tahoe, I should say. And I could tell that it was a cop, right? And he was maybe 100 feet back. But my friend Eddie didn't see it. So instead of telling him about the cop, I was like, okay, let's race. And so he's like, okay, cool. So he does 3 honks and then he takes off, and I just kind of sat there. Well, the cop pulls up next to me and has his window down. And the cop looks over at me and my friend Jason. He's like, damn, I really wanted to see that race. And I started laughing. I was like, nah, we weren't going to race, sir. That wasn't going to happen. He's like, well, that's unfortunate because I was looking forward to seeing it. And I was like, nah, I can't race, sir. A, it's illegal, and B, I already have points on my license, so I can't be doing any of that stuff. And he's like, oh, well, that sucks. He was cool about it. He was laughing, but he was like, oh, that sucks. Because that would have been a good race. And I was like, yeah, it would have been, but I'll leave racing for the drag strip. This isn't the time and place for that. So he's like, do you know that guy? And I was like, yeah, he's my friend. He's just a jackass. And he kind of chuckled. And I was like, can you do me a favor, actually? And he was like, what's up? I was like, can you pull him over, or like at least pretend to pull him over and scare the shit out of him? So he laughed and he's like, yeah, I got you. And he rolled up his window. So me and my friend Jason, we were dying laughing because we're like, this is gonna be fucking hilarious. So maybe 15 seconds later, he pulls up behind my friend Eddie and flips his lights on. So the cop pulled him over. As we were passing him, my friend Eddie had his window down, and you could see his face and the passenger's face, like the girls. He was just like distraught, like he didn't know what to do. And I was laughing my ass off. So the cop ended up pulling him over, and then my friend rolled down his window, and he, instead of the cop getting out, he just kind of turned his lights off and went on. And I got back and I saw my friend, and I was dying laughing. I was like, you were probably shitting yourself. And my friend was like, damn, I was so nervous because we were just trying to race. And I was like, yeah, I know, I was talking to him about it. But moral of the story, the cop was really cool about it. You know, he could have been a dick and like, oh, I saw you guys were trying to street race. Why were you doing that? And he could have pulled over my friend Eddie for attempting to street race or something. I'm sure they could have got him on something, but he didn't. That cop was a nice guy. He could have fucked us over somehow, I'm sure, but he didn't. He was a cool guy. He was just having some fun with us at night. It was like 10 o'clock at night, so he was probably bored, just having some fun with us, you know? And there needs to be more cops like that. Like, we weren't doing anything wrong. Besides my friend trying to get me to race, we really weren't doing anything wrong. So ever since that story, though, I have had a newfound respect for cops. It definitely changed my pissed off attitude towards them and showed me that not all cops are pricks, that there's decent cops out there and there's good cops out there. So for all you people out there, I'm only mentioning this because I've seen it a lot on YouTube recently. How someone makes a video about a cop pulling him over or something, the cop's a prick, and then everyone in the comments shits on the cop for being an asshole, but they generalize about all cops, and that's the biggest problem. A prime example is Officer 401. If you guys don't know who he is, look him up on YouTube. He makes awesome videos, and he's a cool guy, you know? He's a cool cop. He's not out to fuck you over. He just does his job and is nice about it. That's the point I'm trying to make, that not all cops are bad. That people need to stop generalizing about the entire cop population just because there's a few bad cops out there that ruin people's attitude towards them, I guess. And it's becoming worse and worse nowadays, especially with all the shootings that have been happening and the whole black versus white debate of the white cop, black people getting shot, all that shit. It's just making everything so much worse. I'm gonna head home now. This wind's getting a little too much for me. It's like, I don't know if it's picking up on camera, but there's some pretty heavy winds, and it's like pushing me all around out here. And I'm not in the mood to be dealing with that right now. You never know what can happen. So if any of you guys have ever had any bad cop situations or encounters, let me know what happened below. And let me know your opinions about cops after that situation has happened. Or if you've had a nice situation with cops that have changed your opinion and made you realize that there's not all bad cops out there, that there's actually some decent cops. I like to hear other people's cop encounter stories. So while this wind keeps trying to kick my ass, I'm gonna do my best not to die from this tornado we're supposed to have, or could have. If any of you guys are in the area, I want you guys to stay safe as well. Weather's unpredictable sometimes, and you never know what kind of crazy shit can happen. I just wanted to share a story with you guys and voice my opinion on the whole good cop, bad cop. So that's my background with cops. It was, I just went over a bump and just squashed my balls. Oh, God. I haven't had that happen to me in a while, but damn, that hurt. So that's what I think about cops, guys. Let me know what you think below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Stay safe, everybody, and I'll see you later. Peace. Look at that stop sign, guys. Can you see that stop sign right there? That shows how fucking windy it is out here. That's the only really thing I could show you guys that'll pick up on how windy it is out here. That stop sign was just fucking flopping around like a dick out there.